in the mountains, and you got mountain goats.
Some of you may know I lost my dad this summer. He was a great man. He taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to drive. He taught me how to have a work ethic and work on cars, which in turn made me want to do the same for my kids. He also got me into off-roading. So this is going to be a video series dedicated to my dad and what a great man he was and the trails that we did or he did back in his day of off-roading. All the pictures and videos are from my own home videos from me and my family. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome back to the channel on my dad's Memorial Run series. This is the third video and we are here at Wheeler Lake. So Wheeler Lake is tied to the town of Montgomery. That is Montgomery Reservoir that we just drove by. The town is actually underneath that reservoir. They built the dam and then it filled in with water. The town of Montgomery was from the 1860s and it had over 150 buildings that are down underneath there. And this popular attraction is the Magnolia Mill. Don't think I'd want to walk across that. So if you guys want to check out inside the mill, look at this. Town of Montgomery was right there. You got rad waterfalls right here. So we're out here just outside the town of Alma, Colorado. I actually have on my mom's side a great Uncle Jack and Aunt Margie. Uncle Jack passed away, but Aunt Margie's still alive, and gosh, she's got to be in her high 90s at this point. Yeah, this trail starts off tough, so it's kind of special to me because my dad and I did it together, and this is one of the very few trails that I actually did before he did. This trail is kind of special to our whole family because, like I've said before, Shannon and I had our kids in high school. We were really young. When our daughter turned 2 years old, this was one of the trails I took her on. So it was Holy Cross and then Wheeler Lake. We went camping and then did Wheeler Lake. So when we did this with my dad, we were in a 4Runner I built. My dad and mom were on their quad. This is right towards when they were getting ready to retire. And on this rock right here, my dad almost backflipped their Can-Am. We had to, back then it was called a Bombardier. If you guys watched the Holy Cross video, then you know that my dad was not a fan of trails that went in and out. He liked to continue on. He didn't like to backtrack. And so Holy Cross was one of those exceptions. And I think that's why I was able to do this trail before he ever did. We came up here and did this trail and then came back multiple times. We ran this trail a lot, Shanna and I and the kids. The last time we ran it, actually Shanna drove it. We got our daughter's dogs with us, Sully and Boo from Monsters Inc. And when we first came up here, we fell in love with the area so much we actually named our dog Wheeler from Wheeler Lake. So her name was Four-Wheeler Cluley. When I was a kid, we'd come out here to Alma. At my Uncle Jack and Aunt Margie's house, there was a motorcycle sitting in the back, and it was just buried, like past the hubs, like buried into the ground. My Uncle Jack said, he's like, well, if you can dig it out, you can have it. And it was a 1967 Yamaha 250, like a cafe cruiser, I think is what they call them now. I asked my dad, I was like, well, can I have it? And he's like, well, I guess we're gonna dig it out. So I dug and dug and dug and dug and dug, and I spent the whole time there digging this bike out. Of course, he didn't have a title or anything to it. My dad helped me fix it all up. We got it all fixed up, and then we went to go get it titled, and then they wanted to charge the taxable value of the condition it was in, and it was like, and I didn't have the money, and so I never got it titled. I ended up just selling it like that and let somebody else deal with all that paperwork. If we would have known that, we would have taken the bike in the way we dug it out, because it was in rough shape. We've reached one of the toughest spots on this trail. It's the last kind of big climb up into Wheeler Lake. And this is rocky, and it is sloughy, and it is steep. I don't know if you can see that. There was a really gnarly obstacle. They blasted it out once, and then it slowly kind of came back the last time we were here. Of course, that was many years ago. But we'll find out.
It just goes up and up and up. This is really hard to walk on.
So one of the rules to get on Wheeler Lake is you have to put a tire on the flex rock. So last time we were up here, Shanna drove, and I had her put the 4Runner on the flex rock. Now I put the S10 on there, and now we got some side-by-side pictures. You guys like my jacket? These come up from Mexico. There's a gas station at the end of Leadville, and I always buy one of these when I'm there. Big boy. Come here, big goon. Oh yes. Should I get some of these made with Colt Builds It logo on it? They're zip-ups. It's absolutely beautiful up here. Up in there and up in there. There's another lake up in there as well. But all across this mountain range are a bunch of mine shafts, like a bunch of mine shafts. I can tell you, don't go mine shafts, they're dangerous, but there are some that even have ladders in them that are multiple stories. This trail means a lot to us because this was the last trail that we actually drove with my dad. So my dad, my mom, and we had the kids and our dog Wheeler on Wheeler Lake. Shanna drove up. She actually drove up, and then we ended up coming across a hiker that fell off the mountain, and he had messed his leg up, and so we loaded him up in the 4Runner, and then I drove down. This is the last trail we did with my dad, so it's nice to be able to bring it back up here one last time. This one only goes in like 20, 30 yards, if I remember right. Like you could always see daylight all the way at the end of it before it's collapsed. But we actually took pictures right here with our kids. I think the dogs are sniffing out the whistle pigs. When we were down in the trees, they were chasing the timber tigers. And at home, they chased the desert dinosaurs. You know, I grew up going around on trails like this with all this moss rock, and I never thought anything of it. Then I found like people actually collect that stuff, like they want to decorate their lawns and yards with it. Pretty quiet up here, and not a cloud in the sky. Now, my dad loved Coca-Cola. He didn't like Pepsi or anything else. He thought it was too sweet. And even when his health was declining, you still would catch him drinking Coke when he wasn't supposed to. But I'm gonna have a soda for him. This is root beer. He liked, if he did drink a root beer, he liked sarsaparilla. We are headed down the mountain, and right here is where we came across the hikers. The guy had fallen somewhere up in there.
Seeing as this trail was the last trail that we got to do with Dad, and as an entire family together, it's really, really special to me because Dad is my dad. Even though technically he was my father-in-law, he was always my dad. I know he always thought of me as his daughter. He told me that all the time, how he couldn't have had a better daughter if he could have asked for one.
In fact, he was a big fan of Colt Seavers, the fall guy, and that's what my name is from, is actually Colt, from Colt Seavers. And his Scout had an eagle on the hood. He actually put a gold eagle, or the eagle on the hood, like the fall guy, because that was one of the things that he liked. But he also used to ice race. He got into off-road racing and ice racing with his Jeep. I mean, he jumped his Jeep. He raced in all three classes. He built his Jeep, and somebody gave him a Donald Duck. And so he put the Donald Duck on the hood, and then he had Mac the Quack on his race Jeep. Now, he wasn't a doctor. Yeah, he had Mac the Quack on there because his name was Mac. In the studded class, he found Alaskan studs, and they were long. They're like that big, where a regular stud, if you're familiar with driving in the winter, is only about that tall. They let him race. Now, he didn't win the race, but every time one of those Alaskan studs shot off, everybody scurried over there to go get the stud. To this day, there is a rule. Right after that race, they made a rule: no Alaskan studs in the studded class. They used to race at Twin Lakes and at Rainbow Falls and some other places too, but now I think it's just in Georgetown. Yeah, the rules still state no Alaskan studs, and that rule was put in because of my dad.
without a tortilla.
Taco time?
A wrap!
A wrap. Well, we appreciate you guys following along in this series. We still got one more trail to do. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
And I want to add that there's an abundance of average skill type passes in Colorado to enjoy driving over, and the scenery is always spectacular.
Well, we were done with the video, but how blessed are we? You're in the mountains and you got mountain goats.
Do you guys see the baby one?